is, in French, it's Judith Beauregard. But if you say it in English, it's Judith Beauregard, because I'm from the French part of Canada. And my favorite animal is the horse. I love horses. And my movie recommendation would be probably our show Dounia. And what you have to know is that Dounia is a TV series, but it will also be a movie. So we made a feature-length movie with Dounia, which is being premiered next week here in France. And I think it's still very relevant in the story that we're telling about war and migration. It's unfortunately very still relevant today. So yeah, that would be my movie recommendation.
Okay.
No, definitely not. I still watch kids' TV, and I still love it, which is great, because I have kids, and so we watch it together. Yes, definitely. Adults should watch kids' TV, because it's a great way to understand where kids are at these days, and it's also, I find, quite rich. It brings richness to the lives of children when their parents watch TV with them. It helps children understand the world, and it helps parents understand their child and children all over the world. Yes. So I'm a producer, and I understand that not a lot of people actually understand what a TV or a film producer is, but I'm sort of the person who decides to do a project and will gather the best people for that project to work with me. So I will, for example, for Dounia, I thought it was important to talk about migration and migrants, and so I worked with a creator that wrote the script, and I found people to direct the movie, the show, and also I went and got the money to do it. So that's what a producer does. As I just said, for us it was important. It was an important subject to tackle, and so with my business partners, we decided to do a show about children in times of war. And so, as I said, we went ahead and got worked with a wonderful creator who's Syrian, and she wrote the script and directed as well with a co-director. And so I was part of that, also part of choosing the voice talents. The young people who play the parts. Of course, this is an animated series, so we choose the voice talents that will take on. The characters will need a voice, and so we have many children, but also adults who play the parents, the grandparents. So all that in the creative process, and also the business aspects I take care of. It is and it is not. It is not the story of one person, but it is the story of many people. So we were inspired by the experiences of several people that we know, but it's not just one particular person. But if you speak to people who have lived through the Syrian migration, you will hear a very similar story. I know it's not the most joyful topic, but one of the things that we wanted to talk about is how these children that we actually see, you probably go to school, or my daughter goes to school with children who have lived through all this ordeal. And we have no idea. We have no idea what they went through. And so it was for our children to see and understand the difficult experiences that they lived, but also those young kids have never seen their story on television. And it was important for us that they see themselves and that they recognize that they were really strong and really brave. And so I think it's part of the resilience process. So that's why it was really important for us. There are things happening in our society that we're hoping Dounia will help mitigate, in the sense that there's sometimes some racism and some misunderstanding about migrants, and we're hoping that will sort of open up people's eyes a bit. As I said, a lot of people don't have that personal experience, and it's hard to imagine, how difficult it can be. And so, as I said, it's our little contribution to trying to make a better place for all the children from all over the world who go through difficult war experiences. My personal collection? I am very fortunate. I have never lived through that experience, but our creative director and scriptwriter is from Syria, and she's very close to the community, and she had so many stories to tell. It really touched our hearts, and it's just our desire to make the world a better place. That it's not a personal story for me, but it's yeah. Of course, I love Dounia because she's so special. But I have to say that Judith Darwish, the grandfather, is my favorite character. He is wise and optimistic in life, and he loves music, and he loves, his family. And he's in French we say force tranquille. He's a strong but tranquil force. The Princess of Aleppo. Actually, our scriptwriter invented that story, but she sort of took all of her cultural background to write about the Princess of Aleppo. But it's not a real legend, but it could have been. Refugees, okay. Yes, good question. I think if you have, I only have the French word in my mind. Prejudice? Yeah. I think we need to reconsider our prejudice and try to talk to refugees if you meet them, and ask them about their experiences and their countries. I think just being interested and open would actually help a lot. I mean, and as far as what children can do, I think it's really a human experience. After that, of course, adults need to do a lot more in terms of politics and so on. But on the children level, I think it's just trying to be open-minded. I think you can you can ask them to watch Dounia. One of the things that we did in Dounia, and you probably noticed, is that we don't start in the story with the war. We start by establishing how happy she was. She had a home, she had friends, she had a family, and all that was taken from her. So it's a way of trying to put yourself in that situation, because I see myself, I see my daughters in Dounia, and I'm thinking, well, it would be so hard to lose all that. So it's really trying to empathize with people who have lived through that. Yes. So, as I said, Judith Darwish, the grandfather, is a very wise man, and he always says things that really touch my heart. And one of the things that he said when Dounia asked her, Judith, is her home going to be in Greece as they're traveling to Greece? And he said, I don't know. The world is vast and we'll find a home. Meanwhile, we're just like the birds. And the birds and the sky is the same for all the birds in the world. And I thought, yeah, that's really true. I think that and another quote, if I may, which is similar, is that Judith Darwish says, you never leave your home because the entire world is your home. But and the door to that world is your heart. And so, of course, what all this means is it's difficult to leave your home, but really the whole world belongs to everyone, and you should find your own place with it, and within your heart you should be, wherever your heart is should be your home. The war in Syria broke out about 11, 12 years ago, and it's still not resolved. And it was one of the worst crises in recent history. There were 6 million people who had to leave Syria, and 6 million people who moved within the country itself. So that's 12 million who were touched by this war. So I think people don't realize how this crisis has really upheaved the lives of children. Of course, we started this project before the war in Ukraine ever started. And unfortunately, it's a similar story for children. No matter if you're from Syria or Ukraine, living through war is no fun. And and there are similar numbers of displaced people in Ukraine. I think there are about 6 million people who had to leave Ukraine at this point. So, as I said, it's still very relevant today. It's Syria, but one of the things that I always say, it's the story of a Syrian migrant, but it's the story of all migrants. Okay. It's if you talk to people who have fled the war, the story, the geographical locations are different, but the stories are very similar. Thank you so much. Very happy to know that you would like Dounia. Thank you for the interview.